Welcome to this Roll for Crit discussion video. Today, we're going to look at the Golden Geek Awards for 2018. This is their 13th run into this award-winning season, and we've got some cool winners, and we thought this would be a great place to talk about it a bit more and have some discussion, and then for you too to discuss in the comments down below.
Yeah, so we will be going over all of the awards in every category, the winners as well as the runners-up that they put in there, and I guess talking about what we think, if we think it was deserved, or
if maybe we haven't played all of them, so
yeah, that certainly is going to be the case. There's no maybe about it. So we'll just start running down the list. Right away, we have the first biggest award, of course, Board Game of the Year, which went to Root from Leader Games, and I think it's safe to say both of us agree with that pick because it was both of our games of the year as well for 2018.
Yes. We thought this game was amazing. We really enjoyed it. It takes, when you do a game that has such asymmetrical groups and do it well, it's already going to be near the top of my list because it makes it, the replay value of that alone, much more enjoyable. But the runners-up were two games that we haven't played, Brass Birmingham and the other one being Architects of the Western Kingdom. I remember seeing Brass Birmingham. It looked very, very Euro. I think this would be a game probably neither of us would enjoy. I mean, I don't know when you try it out.
It certainly wouldn't be a game that I would be excited to play.
Yes.
But I might. I feel like, you know, usually the case with those games is that I like them once I've played them.
That could be true. Archers of the West Kingdom, I think, is also a bit more, but that one I think attracted me a bit more. I actually am going to be receiving it. I backed their Kickstarter for Paladins of the West Kingdom and said, I'm just going to get the whole lot.
Yeah, those are, everybody talks about those games, so that's going to be an exciting one to talk about. So that was the big winner, Root, and Root will come up more again as we go along. The next big category was Best Two-Player Game, and that one went to Keyforge, Call of the Archons, if you need a subtitle there.
Right, and the runners-up being Duelosaur Island and War Chest. And while we do have all three of these, but I think it was an obvious Keyforge was, I think once this hit the scene, everyone was talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, usually there aren't that many specific two-player games that come out, so when you get one of this caliber from Fantasy Flight and Richard Garfield that is so innovative, I mean, yeah, like you said, it's the obvious choice for sure, and it went that way.
Yeah,
so
and I'm more curious to see how Keyforge holds up with the next expansion. Will it still have that hype pushing behind it, or is it going to start to lose steam? I don't know, because the way the game works, it's definitely, I mean, it's a whole new system. Haven't seen unique decks before, so it's definitely going to be a fun experiment to watch. Yeah.
Next up, we got Best Artwork and Presentation, and that one also went to Root. Has all those cute little critters and those adorable little lovely lush jungles and rivers and forests and what have you. How could it not win?
But we still got some more cute critters in one of the runners-up, which was Everdell, which we did do a review for that one as well. But the other one being Brass Birmingham, once again, haven't touched. I don't know what the art throughout the entire game looks like, but if I recall, it looked very just
Euro.
Yes. I like cute animals a lot more, and I definitely think while Everdell's animals were very cute, some of them, like I love the postal pigeon off the top of my head, but I love that. I don't know. It's more cartoonish style in Root, you know.
Well, I'm not sure. Artwork and presentation. So I believe that is meant to include components and things as well.
That could be, yeah.
And in that case, I honestly, I don't know. That's tough for me because I really do think Everdell, the way the board looks and the little berries and logs are really nice.
The problem is the logs roll off the table.
It's not anymore. They fixed that in the new edition.
Yeah, it was too late.
But so I think that's a strong runner-up. That might almost beat it out for me. Now, next up we have Best Card Game. You might think this went to Keyforge as Best Two-Player Game because it was also nominated. But no, that was only a runner-up, as was Thunderstone Quest, which is another co-op deck-building game from AEG. But what did win?
The Mind.
The Mind, which when we had talked about the nominees, we were discussing the Mind and how it's kind of a polarizing game. Some people argue whether or not it actually is a game. It's one in which players are trying to put number numbers in the right order without communicating at all, just using cards, and that's basically like your psychic powers. And I guess that experience was strong enough and unique enough that people liked it, and they put it as #1 for card game.
I guess, but I will say,
I mean, it's true.
Like, I don't think for me it was like a bad game. Like, I didn't hate my experience doing it, but I guess I'm almost on the fence where some people say it's not a game in the sense that it's like, sure, I'll play it once, it's fun to do or something around. But the other ones are more of like what I'd want in like Keyforge. All right, let's get another game going, or Thunderstone, get my deck building. I don't know. I guess to me, it's a fun game. It's not my top tier game.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I think what it is for a lot of people, it just provided this experience, and honestly, I think a lot of it is the group that you play it with.
Yeah, I don't have anyone I'm in sync with at all.
I think especially bringing it to non-gamers, I'm guessing, and like, if you could play with your husband or wife or your kids, or just at a random party, the kinds of people who maybe aren't used to the heavier board games.
Well, I think we'll actually get to party game in the mind a little later.
you will. But let's not stop this mind train yet, because the mind also won Best Cooperative Game. So that is quite a feat. That's a second category that it's won, and that's over 2 runners-up, both of which are story-based games.
That are on our top 10 list.
That we really liked. Chronicles of Crime and Detective, a modern crime board game.
I have a feeling they might not have won because some people would be like, I'd rather play that solo, and that maybe they don't consider when you really think the mind you literally cannot play without cooperating with other people.
That is true. I mean, if you're looking purely in what makes the best, that's my question on some of these categories. I'll get back to this later with later ones. Is the question which is the best co-op game, or which game best uses the cooperative elements?
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Because in that case, yeah, definitely the mind. I also wonder if the fact that Detective and Chronicles are both in there maybe canceled each other out, because they're
they took each other's votes.
Yeah, they're in the same space, so a lot of people might have voted for one instead of the other.
That maybe that's why the mind won this. It's almost like with the Oscars. I know a lot of people complained about like sometimes you're not the winner because you were the best film, but because you were everyone's second pick or something.
Right, exactly. That is definitely possible. Yeah.
But now we're going to go to expansions, and the winner was the SCYTHE expansion, particularly the SCYTHE The Rise of Fenris. This is actually a campaign scenario that adds and sort of has some hidden boxes. We have it, but we haven't played it yet because, when it comes to a campaign thing, we have to make sure we have everyone who's right, who's going to stick around, and that's
a lot.
Yeah.
But this seems like another one that's an easy choice, because we do love SCYTHE, and that expansion is, as expansions go, expansive. So that's a big one. Runners up in this category were Terraforming Mars Prelude, which is a little small thing that you can add that spices up the beginning of the game for Terraforming Mars, and Root the River Folk, which adds a couple new classes. Another one that we are going to hopefully play and review soon. But obviously we love Root, so I'm sure there's good things going on in that game, but I think SCYTHE was just the giant.
I will say all these are. I mean, it's obviously the giant, and I'm sure the campaign's fun. All of these are definitely, not only that, they're expansions of games which are all very high on my list. I think SCYTHE's a great game. I think Terraforming Mars is a great game. I think Root's a great game. It's like so hard. There's not like an expansion that fixed the game. These are all already added to amazing games.
Yeah, agreed. Next up, we got Best Family Game, which went to The Quacks of Quedlinburg, which was a Spiel des Jahres nominee. I don't think it won, or maybe it was the Kenner Spiel.
Yeah,
but it could have been Spiel des Jahres, because it's in the family card game. You'll have to look up those details. I can't keep these names straight, specifically Quacks of Quedlinburg. I have heard great things about that as a family game. 2 runners-up that I find interesting. They are Welcome To and The Mind. Specifically, what are your thoughts on these?
I will say the Quacks game, I'm very excited. I've heard and I haven't had a chance, but I want to play it.
Yeah.
And The Mind, I think you said it yourself. It's something that's very simple and easy to be like, all right, kids, this is how this works. But I'd love to see kids not stay quiet. Maybe that's the real reason why you play it. Welcome To. That's interesting. Maybe it's because the wrong right. I mean, it's not too hard, but I feel like that can get really complex.
Yeah, I do not think of Welcome To as a family game. I think that even just explaining the rules to gamers, not like you said, not that it's like super complex, but some of the actions, you have to kind of wrap your head around them for a few times. You know, how you duplicate the different houses the correct way, and what's the best strategy to get the best score.
We were stupid kids. Everyone else had much smarter ones.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Now the next one, this comes back to what I wanted to talk about before, because the next...
Read.
The next category is innovative. And again, my question is this supposed to be the best game that was innovative, or is it the most innovative game? Because the winner was Root.
Yes. And the runner-up were Chronicles of Crime and then Keyforge. And honestly, to me, I think, in my mind, innovative, well, I love Root, and I think I'm so happy they made asymmetrical designs. Technically, I've seen that before.
You've seen it from their own company.
Right.
You know, Vast.
But like, for innovative, Keyforge did innovative in terms of, I think, a release structure. And a game is a bit more, especially if you're a Magic player, you're like, wait, it's not about killing my opponent?
Right,
you know?
right.
But this is where I think the mind should have won. Like, to me, that's where I think it really should have shined out of all the awards.
Yeah,
to me.
yeah, that is, I agree. That's why I'm thinking.
I guess because the game technically is what it does too.
Oh, like the game?
Yeah,
called
I
the
mean,
game?
the game.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying?
Maybe, and like Hanabi kind of does a little bit of that as well. I mean, from these, I would have said Keyforge certainly is. Then maybe it goes down to, they said, oh, it's the structure versus the game itself.
Right.
I don't know. Chronicles of Crime, I think, it uses the app in innovative ways, but I could see it being a runner-up. I guess that's fair.
Yeah. But like I said, to me,
it's a strange one.
Keyforge and Mind are the ones that are like, when first thing comes to mind with innovative for that year.
Yeah, so that's why, yeah, I don't know. But if it was, what's your favorite game that was innovative? Well, it's Root. So I guess that's the winner. Now back to the Mind again, because that also won for best party game.
Yes, with runouts being Decrypto and Just One.
I have no idea what Just One is. So.
I'm gonna say this: I wouldn't bring the Mind to a party.
Huh.
It only goes up to 4 players.
That's a good point.
To me, a party is when you get like 6, 7, 8, you know. And not only that, maybe if you're the younger audience, but in our age group, I'm going to take a shot in the dark that usually there's 2 or 3 people drinking, and I would... Maybe at first playing the Mind while someone's drunk is hilarious, but after the first or second game, you're like, oh, I might just... Get along with it, could you? Like, it just doesn't seem like a party game to me.
I will say in its defense,
it's an experience.
Even though it goes only up to 4 players, I think you could have fun being like, because it's so fast, saying, check this out. And maybe other people would watch and be like, what are they doing? What is this game? And then, oh, maybe you switch in. Like, now you guys try it and see how you do with it.
I guess.
But I mean, I agree, it is only 4 players. Seems strange.
Decrypto was so much fun to play. We did a video on it. And I definitely would enjoy that a lot more, especially with a party where I expect to have more people.
Yeah, Decrypto is a great one. Even though I said I had never heard of Just One, I have actually heard good things about it. I've seen some people say that they really like Just One. So maybe one we need to check out in the future, because it did win the thing. Now there's a couple here that we can't really comment on too much. For instance, best print and play. The winner was Orchard, a 9-card solitaire game. The print and plays, I don't think either of us just keep up with, really, unless it falls into our line of view by accident.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you anything about the nominees for that
the
category.
runner-ups were the Coin Tribe Revolt, and then the Sioux Line. Am I saying that right?
I don't know. Probably we should just cut this part because we don't know what they're called.
Well, we should still have it so people can discuss it if they do.
Yeah, so you can talk to us.
How terrible we are for ignoring them.
You can let us know what those print and plays are. I like to buy my games in a box. I don't want to print them. Now, best solo game. We do like our solo games. And the winner of that one was That's Pretty Clever, perhaps also known as Ganz schon clever in its German. And that was another Spiel des Jahres game out there last year that has a lot of hype behind it. Runners-up being Chronicles of Crime and Welcome To.
Now, we did play both of those, but now, of course, we haven't played That Pretty Clever, and now I'm like, oh, that's a good solo? Oh.
I like played a little bit of it because there's an app version which is free and you can play it online and experience it. I didn't delve too deep into it, but it's an easy one out there and you can play as a solo gamer. It's basically a roll and write style game.
Right.
As is Welcome To, which so I think that's like just lends itself so well to a solo mechanic.
No, I love that kind of, because you're building the best thing and comparing a score. I love that. That's one of the reasons why I think the roll and write's becoming so popular right now.
And Chronicles of Crime, again, I think makes sense. It just works well as a solo game. Though most of those narrative games do. It's pretty rare that you need more than that to do anything. Back to games that we have no idea about. Best strategy game.
No, we know about.
Well, the winner
The winner we don't know. It was Brass Birmingham, with the runners being Root and
Teotihuacan, City of Gods. I'll save you from that. Yeah.
We did play the runners, and both of them we did really enjoy. Especially I can see in thinking ahead in strategy and stuff.
Yeah, and this is another one I got a question. Technically, every game has strategy. Yeah, is it I assume they mean the most strategic, like traditional, long-term, planning and stuff like that. So
hey, I am strategically thinking how I flip cards over in war.
As am I. So, that's a tough category. I think there's some tough competition in there. It does seem a bit strange. That's why also, often sometimes these things don't make sense to me. Well, let's talk about the next category.
Yeah, we'll get to those.
We'll come back to the overall. But best thematic game kind of is the other side of this coin.
Right. With Root once again winning, following by Rising Sun and Western Legends.
Western Legends, I know we really want to play. Rising Sun, of course, we have played.
And I definitely, I enjoy the art of Root and stuff, but I feel like Rising Sun I would rather give it to, because it has a whole honor system, just the way the territories work in the kami. I don't know. It felt, maybe it's because it's actually tied to a culture or something. It feels.
Yeah.
But
I could also say Rising Sun sure seems like a strategy game to me. but I don't know. I don't know. We'll talk about that again.
No, it doesn't say it wasn't nominated. We're just saying the top two.
You're correct, but it's strange that it would be so high up for one and not for the other.
I have a theory, but we'll get to that.
All right. Best war game. The winner was Hannibal and Hamilcar. Runners-up Cataclysm and 1066. 3 games we haven't played. We don't play war games. So this is just a category that's all not in our wheelhouse.
Unfortunately, you'll have to argue without us.
But slightly more in our wheelhouse is Best Podcast. Now, this category is interesting because if you don't know, they actually cycle out past winners. So that's why you don't see the Dice Tower just winning every single year.
Right.
Because if something's won, it's not eligible anymore. This year it went to Ludology, which is a podcast about, they mostly focus on game design elements and things like that.
Also, I don't know if you've looked, does this podcast mean strictly only audio-only podcast, or does it include YouTube videos too?
I think it's typically audio-only format, but I think some of them, also put their podcasts on YouTube in different formats. I don't know. All I know is we've never been asked to be a nominee. I don't know how that works, but if
smart move on their part, though.
Yeah, because we would win and it would make everyone else look bad. Runners-up for this were Heavy Cardboard and Blue Peg, Pink Peg. So maybe you want to go check out some of those podcasts if you haven't heard of them. Final category was Best Board Game App, and going back to what we were talking about before, Ganz Schön Clever, which for some reason they decided to put the title of it in German for this winner. I don't know. That one for Best App. Runners-up, digital versions of SCYTHE and Onitama. Yeah.
You actually download that app. So how? I feel like it's not only just obviously there's probably, if you're a good game, you probably are ranked higher like SCYTHE. But we've had certain games or apps or digital reviews where the game is a game that's fine, but then they crash and burn on the interface.
Yeah, honestly, I can't say that much in terms of, the interface was so great. My feeling is that this is more that the game itself lends itself so well to just being kind of an on-the-go, by-yourself game that it makes sense. That's why something like SCYTHE or Onitama, I think, are harder, because anytime you have to add more people, it becomes a little bit more unwieldy. Are you passing it? Does it have online play? How's the connections, etc.? I feel like solo games really shine for app versions. So I think we had 2 kind of predictions when the nominees were announced, which were probably we're going to see a lot of Root, and you said maybe we'll see a lot of the Mind, and I think that's what we saw. It honestly
not as much as last year. I think with Gloomhaven, I feel like Gloomhaven was a bit more sweepy.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I definitely feel like those 2 were the big winners.
Yeah,
were Root, and it's kind of funny because they're almost like polar opposites in terms of the levels of depth and strategy between them. But yeah, I was thinking, like, going back again to like thematic versus strategy, especially I feel like in the modern board game era, so many games blend those things so well. It's hard for me to, like, Rising Sun, that is an incredibly strategic game. I don't know how you call that. And even Root is very strategic. I don't know why there's what the separation is. It's really down to how people vote, because you can vote however you want.
And then when you go there, like, no matter what, you have to remember, these are people. Yeah. So, like, someone might vote not because they truly think this was the most innovative game or something. They're like, I like that game and I want to win.
Well, it also comes down to what we demonstrated in this episode, which is...
interpretation?
No, the things that people have played are generally, like, that's one of the reasons, you know, that's why a lot of the top 10 on BoardGameGeek you usually see are also the most played. So if some of these lesser known games people hadn't played, then they're not going to show up, even if they really are better. So it's a tough balance for those kinds of things. It's always something you got to take into consideration.
But what do you think about the awards? I mean, overall, do you think that of the ones that we could probably comment on, do you think they were right?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, they pretty much lined up with how I felt, I think. I mean, definitely the big ones, Root, Keyforge. I mean, I might have given a little bit more slack. Like, maybe I would have given Chronicles of Crime thematic or something. Maybe seen Detective a little bit more in there. I mean, you can, basically whatever was in our top 10 list from last year that didn't make it, I probably would have pushed higher based on that. But there wasn't anything that I thought, oh man, that was robbed or whatever. Like, maybe that the mind thing was a little weird.
I mean,
but
like I said, I thought it, like, to me, it's the innovative pick for me because it's so weird, but, like, it wasn't even mentioned there. And, like, yeah, obviously, the thematic one is hard too because it's almost like, it's hard when, what if one thing does, like, noir perfectly, but one does, like, Japan history perfect, like, it almost feels like bad, like it's like putting different movies of different genres against each other.
Yeah, it's hard. I wish they would maybe, like, clarify the categories a little bit better and say this is for the most innovative.
Do they not?
As far as I know, maybe there's probably somewhere on their wiki or something, but on the nominations page, it just says, here's the name of the category, here's your list, you can vote for it. So maybe that's something they can fine tune, or maybe at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be a popularity contest no matter how they slice it. Yeah, overall, they were awards. They pretty much summed up what I think we felt, and they're an interesting indicator also just as to the general feeling of the board game playing public, or at least the hardcore.
Well, that's true. I mean, the fact the mind, which you definitely fall more on the casual end, to do a significant sweep, in my opinion.
That is interesting, yeah. The fact that it was strong enough.
It's not a Gloomhaven or Scythe where you need to make sure you have a bag strong enough or it'll rip.
Yeah, that's saying something about that game, absolutely. We would love to hear from the people watching this video. Maybe you're one of the people who voted for these awards. Maybe you thought something was robbed or snubbed. Maybe something wasn't even nominated.
Maybe I'm a complete idiot for my thoughts on the mind as an innovative game.
Yeah, either you think it should have won or shouldn't have won. I don't know. There's some strong thoughts there probably going either way. Talk to us. We'd love to have you fill in the gaps about the games we didn't play, specifically Brass Birmingham, which obviously is one that should be up next on our list because that was a big winner for those sorts of things. We want to hear from you in the comments. You can also talk to us through our website, rollforcrit.com, or at us, or tweet us, or DM us on all our other social media platforms. It's up to you. Check out the description below.
But until then, I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
And this has been a Roll for Crit discussion video.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more board game content. Every little bit helps.
Please, we gotta eat.